Hey guys and welcome to part 1 to What If Female Naruto had isolation. Sorry guys for not uploading Wednesday, Friday and Monday. I thought my cousins were coming down, parents said they were, and they didn't, which kind of caused undue, or at least somewhat some stress onto me, which kind of, or at least I should have known by now, that stress doesn't exactly do well with me. And so I couldn't exactly focus on doing a what if, as I've been trying to do this what if since Wednesday. Wednesday and Thursdays, somewhat what if that I had in my idea for this was kind of shite. It was something bad, it didn't feel right and that, and I just simply couldn't also think clearly. And yeah. And then some of the one I've got in my head was Monday's one, which I kind of wound up by accidentally kind of completely skipping and not doing because a bit of stress as well as kind of just forgetting what the time was, losing track of time, and yeah. So sorry, I'm rambling on, so let's get into this. I may say a bit more at the end of this, but who knows? Anyway, let's get into this. So, ever since you could remember, Naruto loved the somewhat cold, the winter, the snow. Well, any child does when it snows, snow angels, snowball fight, all that. And, maybe making a snowman with, well, does our parent, but, parents, all that, and yeah. But that's kind of where the coloration stops, as unlike other children, where after a while of being outside, they would kind of get cold and would eventually go in to get warm and that. Well, she didn't, and in fact, unlike the other children, would wear thick, kind of somewhat somewhat maybe a thick top. A thick, then somewhat jump on top of that, and then maybe a somewhat winter coat on that, over that, and gloves and thick trousers and shoes and all that. She practically only wore somewhat a strapless, sleeveless, black somewhat dress. Was simply all was enough for her, and she was fine with it. So the first maybe 5 or 10 seconds of being outside was freezing, but after those seconds, it was just like a normal day, like a normal, nice kind of day where it's neither hot nor cold, where it seemed like the perfect kind of temperature. And yeah, didn't she hate you? And yeah, and it's like, though he was going to end up, finding out about this when she'd be, of course, like 6 years old. It'd be somewhat winter, and it'd be about currently -5 Celsius outside when she'd be walking into the office to somewhat speak to the old man who was in about something. Somewhat, of course, the door would open, and he would look up and see something Naruto, or at least noticing the kind of hair colour that would slightly swing somewhat from the doors. So he'd open it, and somewhat the footsteps and that, he'd somewhat go, Naruto-chan, how can I help you? He'd somewhat go somewhat off, as she'd be somewhat walking in pretty much the somewhat somewhat in pretty much, and you'd look at her and you'd go, no, that's not exactly appropriate clothing for this weather. Naruto should go. She'd somewhat just shrug, so I'm fine, the cold doesn't bother me. Who's gonna look at her and they'd go, you sure about that, Naruto? Someone-chan. Hi, old man, I'm sure. Why? So you'd somewhat stare at her. He'd go, I think we should go to the hospital instead. I'd go, what? I don't need to go. He'd somewhat get up. He'd go over and he'd go, cold now, so we really should, sort of go as it, sending them over, and as they would enter, now to grumble that she was fine. And yeah, and once they would sort of enter, they would, go to the sort of front desk, and after a quick, chat with the receptionist, they would quickly be seen, and after some tests, they would just come back saying that she was, would someone look dumbfounded and say she's fine. She'd see, so, oh man, now can I leave? Already forgetting why she came, or why she went to Houston for. It's Houston would sigh, he'd nod, and he'd say that if there was anything, someone knows that she needs to know, he would come and tell her. She'd nod and she'd perceive to someone leave. When she'd go, Houston would look to the men and go, "That's more, isn't that?" Which the said Ambu, the Medellin would nod, saying that it could be because of either the fox or her chakra, but she seems to be completely fine. Like her body, sort of like the first 5 to 10 seconds of being sort of in contact with cold, she does register it as cold, but after those 5 to 10 seconds, that's it. From there, her body seems to change and function like it was in a normal, perfect, nice day. No, where it's neither hot nor seemingly cold outside, where it's just a perfect temperature for your body. And yeah, or when that's something, or when you're sort of rooms like that, where something is just nice, where you don't feel cold nor do you feel hot. Neither does the room. It's like it's like you and the room are the exact same temperature. Yeah, he was in a nod. He'd state that she felt that a couple of times, and it goes. So that's pretty much how body functions high in cold temperatures, and I believe it's probably either a chakra, which could mean she may potentially kind of have some type of maybe somewhat like maybe something like isolate or that, but that's a Yuki clan, bloodline limited. Go well, not necessarily. After all, it's just water and wind combined together, and if either her parents had both water and wind, or both of them had the two elements, it could be possible that she could just have a high affinity for both of them, and if her affinity for both of them were high enough, they could potentially wind up combining together to produce somewhat an ice affinity potentially, or somewhat a ice bloodline. Yeah, similar to the somewhat the first Hokage's Mokiton would release. To which his kind of somewhat nodded, just out of the blue, pretty much. And yeah, it's also either that or more likely the Nine Tails, right? I somewhat believe it's probably more of the Nine Tails' chakra mixing sort of with hers, because sort of the seal, and thus that kind of producing some maybe somewhat heat or kind of something. I'm not too sure, but yeah, nevertheless, she's perfectly fine and cold, and you shouldn't really somewhat worry about somewhat her. The only time you may potentially want to worry is if she somehow somewhat is naked. But yeah, and if she's naked, then she's probably ill, and you may want to bring her in ASAP, because if anything could make her ill, well, you'd hope nobody gets it, as it could kill anyone else, which gives them just sort of nod. And yeah, ironically, unknown to them, she had gone outside, granted not naked, wore some panties and it was somewhat at night when it had been snowing once upon a year. Should be, curious and, but yeah. Anyway, though a few months would pass, more specifically about about 3 months, because 2 would put it onto March, which would be spring. No, it didn't, but yeah. Yeah, it'd be about, so, but yeah, 3 months would go by, so it'd be sort of April time, so the mid of spring. Sometimes it'd be sort of, kind of starting to warm up, so it'd be about 5, it'd be about 10 C on some today, as there'd be sort of everyone being in the academy, and should be somewhat excited today, as should be learning, or somewhat like the others, to firstly kind of awaken that chakra, or in other words, gain, or at least kind of build that first connection with their chakra, so that they could, to register what their chakra felt like, and to kind of somewhat, in this, mold it to open up the kind of somewhat outer chakra points. And yeah, though ours didn't necessarily need opening due to the fox, but nevertheless. Yeah. Anyway, though, because though you agree, somewhat, and as the class would settle down, as you'd go well, somewhat. Yeah, you could see, someone looking excited, and he'd somewhat smile as you'd go, well, you already know what today is. To which they would somewhat nod, though, firstly, of course, on the register, you'd call out their names, and as they'd, answer, you'd mark them in, and good, somewhat you're all in, none of yous are somewhat of, yeah. And, yeah. From there, you'd somewhat would perceive to tell them, of course, before I, go somewhat letting you, trying to feel for your chakra, firstly what it may feel like, and it may be different for everyone, though. It should generally somewhat feel kind of warm, maybe welcoming, and maybe even strong and powerful, or and yeah, and yeah, or maybe even somewhat cozy, and yeah, and somewhat another thing is that for those of you that are kind of, or at least for those of you not from, of course, the clan, I don't know, at least for those of you that have somewhat small chakra reserves, you'll find it harder to find your chakra, but once you find it, you'll find it easier to kind of gain that initial connection with your chakra, to kind of open up the network, so you can start kind of learning to manipulate the your chakra. And for those, of course, that have got somewhat bigger chakra reserves, you're going to find it easier to find it, but harder to kind of somewhat push it through to open the gates. And for people trying to figure out why would it be hard the bigger it is. Well, picture something like this, say like a water pipe with somewhat there, of course, somewhat with a valve, but instead of being somewhat a valve that as you turn the thing middle, it would somewhat be more like a kind of something like a kind of somewhat circular wall inside the sort of pipe, and then as you turn it, one side of course swings somewhat away from the water, the other swings into the path of the flowing water, and of course the higher the pressure, or in this case or at least the somewhat wider the pipe, that's kind of the more pressure on that thing, or so in their case, the larger their reserves, the harder it would be to initially get it open. And then, of course, once it's open, of course, it's flowing. And yeah, and yeah, of course, somewhat. And yeah, so for that, they would, from there, would tell them now to kind of close their eyes. And yeah, if you somewhat, well, barely all but maybe 2 or 3 seconds would go by when Naruto would feel a sort of feeling a kind of powerful kind of feeling simply flowing through her, that which would register probably somewhat her chakra, and feeling more of it. It felt incredibly powerful, like it could like she could just like she'd be like she could become the strongest person. Not only that, but it also felt kind of cool, a bit cold, but also cool. Somewhat a nice cool feeling. Not simply the warm or cozy feeling she felt. It just felt nice and cool. And yeah, she'd pull on her somewhat chakra. She'd pull on it, and after a few somewhat holy minute, right after a few minutes to maybe all but a minute, she'd feel it go from being sort of hard to kind of get from it being kind of hard to kind of getting incredibly somewhat easy, as it somewhat as she could then feel her somewhat chakra kind of flow suddenly throughout her entire body. And yeah, somewhat her eyes would somewhat flow to open as she'd somewhat clench and kind of unclench somewhat her hands, as she could feel the chakra coursing somewhat through her. She felt, even just now, even without simply kind of calling upon it or that, she felt stronger. She was somewhat confused, by that. How could just have it flowing, through her, made her stronger? You could somewhat see that, and you'd go, I presume you've awakened your chakra. She'd somewhat nod high. And yeah, though you'd go, well, of course, someone you're going to go, you're probably, at the moment feeling that you're stronger, for seemingly no reason, right? Hi, Sensei, Iruka Sensei. Well, the simple reason why is because, how, of course, we eat, to give our body, of course, food, somewhat energy from, the food, to which is not high. Well, our chakra here, somewhat is, and somewhat our body and somewhat our muscles can somewhat use our chakra as another sort of energy source. Thus, somewhat, of course, the more energy sort of available, the more sort of energy, more energy would, of course, going into our muscles and that, which means we'd, somewhat be kind of stronger. Yeah, so just nod, and yeah. And yeah, you'd ask kind of what to do now, to which you'd just tell her to kind of somewhat wait. Yeah, of course, time would go by, and it would end up being lunchtime, though, or at least a few minutes before the bell would go, the last person would finally manage to kind of get their chakra. And yeah, from there, of course, he'd talk to them, about a bit the danger, kind of somewhat of using up all your, chakra, and when to tell when you're pretty much kind of similarly somewhat out of chakra, that using any more could, kill you, you could die. Yeah, of course, some of them would be thus a bit hesitant to use that chakra, though. You would somewhat kind of, you would somewhat tell them that, by doing, though, you tell them, though, somewhat just like how, using, training, your muscles made them stronger, using somewhat your chakra constantly, and that will increase your reserves. The bigger your reserves, the course, the less likely the longer you can fight, and the less likely you are to, somewhat hit that, to run out, of chakra. They would somewhat, no, that would ease some of the more kind of somewhat nervous and kind of scared, kids. And yeah, though, of course, the bat would go and they would tell them that it was lunch, and that after lunch they would start on some chakra exercise. And yeah, they would sort of nod, and from there, of course, after lunch, once they'd all back and doing the evening register, you'd then have them go, you'd then sort of tell them that there'd be you'd go, well, as it's somewhat warm outside, as it's currently about about like 9s here at the moment. Whilst it's a bit cold outside, it's not necessarily, cold enough to prevent us from going out, so we're going outside. They would nod, they would get up, and they would head outside, with, of course, Iruka and Mitsuki following them. From there, Iruka and somewhat Mitsuki, or at least, he'd tell them to kind of, somewhat sit down and sit apart, some distance away from one another, which they would, as it proceeded to hand them a somewhat leaf. Each as he would tell them that to push it between to hold it between their to push it against their forehead and to send chakra to it, and that the idea of this is to, or at least and you'd tell them that when you remove your hand, it should be able to stick there without, with just using your chakra alone, and that if you use too little, the leaf will fall off your forehead, and if you do too much, it will be kind of blown off. They would nod, and yeah, go on from there. They'd do so, and when, of course, Naruto would do so, it would indeed, blow off, though when she'd go to get it, she'd be surprised as she'd see some look kind of icy. Heck, it felt cold even. And yeah, she'd see bits of ice and she'd be kind of confused. And yeah, though she'd somewhat wonder kind of about that, and she'd think, though she'd think around, and she'd just somewhat tell herself that she'd kind of, experiment more once she kind of got home after the academy. And yeah, a few hours later, Iruka would dismiss them and they would leave. So Naruto would somewhat head on home, remembering somewhat the leaf. And yeah. And so somewhat she'd kind of get home, and she'd kind of somewhat wonder kind of how to kind of try that again, without, having to go out, pick a leaf or that. She'd think like if she could potentially do that, then maybe just, somewhat having a bit of water, somewhat on her hand, but yeah. And so she'd do so. She'd run her hand and maybe some warm water or cold tap, and yeah, with her hand now somewhat wet, she'd somewhat would and kind of close her eyes as she'd perceive to kind of direct her chakra to her hand and to push it out. And once she'd feel it kind of somewhat hard to move her fingers. She'd look down and she could still feel, she'd still pushing chakra out, as she could see somewhat what, or at least the part of her hand that was somewhat kind of that had got impacted would be ice, and she could see as she was continuing to push chakra out that ice was starting to form more and more, to the point where she'd realise that she'd start to stop. And yeah, she'd be a bit, somewhat worried about her hand kind of, potentially being somewhat freezing, but she'd somewhat realise that her hand felt fine. It didn't feel cold at all. which would kind of be confusing if you're like, oh, well, of course it's wood, that like an insulator. Well, not quite. That's snow. And that's an igloo, as somewhat igloos, of course, with snow, and when you pack snow down, of course, it traps air, and air is a brilliant insulator. It's a poor heat conductor. Thus, you're always, if you, have built an igloo, something you find it's, quickly gets very warm, if not hot inside. And yeah, ice, on the other hand, once it gets above 0, it starts to melt, turn into water, and remove heat away. And, well, yeah, water is a brilliant, or at least is a good, conductor of heat, and it requires a lot of heat energy to, melt, and also, yeah. Anyway, and got something to wouldn't, and it wouldn't even be melted from the inside out like it would if a hand was hot. Instead, it was melting from the outside in. And yeah, you should feel the ice, and it wasn't cold, and should feel a hand, and it would feel warm. It would feel somewhat water, it'd feel somewhat, it would feel a bit warm. And yeah, and kind of confused. Yeah, so she'd end up she'd end up filling a somewhat, or she'd end up saying she'd fill a somewhat pan, or maybe kind of saucepan up with somewhat water, with somewhat dunk her left hand that was now, somewhat had ice around it, dunk it in the somewhat kind of water, and would somewhat turn it on to kind of try and, somewhat heat up the water, and thus the ice, and, somewhat melt her hand. Or at least the ice around her hand, which would, and at least somewhat once, it, or at least though, and yeah, though somewhat once or at least once the kind of similarly somewhat top started to kind of melt and start shrinking, she'd feel it, and it felt cool, but it was rapidly, it didn't feel, it still felt fine, and she was confused, so she'd turn off the heat, and yeah, she'd somewhat kind of wonder what happened, so she'd put more of her hand kind of in the somewhat pot, and would proceed to kind of somewhat close her eyes, and she'd somewhat push her chakra once again out, and almost and within a few seconds, so she'd open up her hand, and she'd almost immediately stop pushing out her chakra, as the entire pan, the entire somewhat, not pan, but the entire saucepan or whatever, somewhat was frozen, old water in it, frozen, and even the outside somewhat had a small bit of ice on it. But she'd scratch her somewhat cheek with somewhat right hand. She's got oops, and yeah, and of course somewhat that thing, or at least yeah, and yeah, though someone got slightly forgot to say was what she looked like, and what she somewhat would look like would be kind of in the picture, though. Yeah, so she'd have, soft, kind of creamy white skin, because she'd have, somewhat body figure. Yeah, and somewhat kind of creamy white skin, and of course, somewhat eyes, so, and that's, somewhat blue eyes. And though she'd end up having seemingly snow white hair. And yeah, though unnoticed of anyone, and even herself, somewhat her seemingly advanced, or at least somewhat to chakra, or that had slightly changed from a seemingly snowy white to have a bit of violet in it. And yeah, though somewhat moving on, yeah, that goes somewhat though, and from because that somewhat a year would kind of sort of go by of her just messing about, sort of kind of, or at least with ice. The benefit, of course, her kind of slowly learning how to kind of to kind of control, to control her sort of ice ability, was that she was actually sped up her own, she increased her own ability with controlling, of course, her own chakra, which meant that the belief sticking exercise she'd complete that a lot. She'd complete it not a lot sooner, but sooner than in canon. Yeah, she'd be maybe the 5th or 6th person. So it's the 5th or 6th from last to complete it. To be able to successfully stick it to her forehead. The belief, and yeah. With that done, and yeah. Anyway, as I said, a year later, she'd end up kind of somewhat realizing that she could sort of manipulate water as well, and she kind of figured that it kind of made a bit of sense that she could control ice. I mean, she could freeze, she could make ice, so she could surely, be able to manipulate water, and yeah, sort of after, or at least somewhat bit, so she'd try and make, she'd be able to successfully make a ball of ice, and so she'd try and make a ball of water, but instead, she'd end up discovering that, or at least she'd end up making a ball of air, compressed air. Yeah, thus she'd end up discovering that she'd had a wind affinity, or something she wasn't exactly sure what to call it. And yeah, she'd sort of wondered if she could manipulate air or wind. Was it our wind? She didn't really know. And somewhat a kind of, or at least somewhat a year later, so being somewhat 8 years old, she'd somewhat, or at least would be in the bath, and she'd kind of, or at least somewhat move the tap on, and she'd put her, finger, something, kind of similarly over there, so you tap, like, surely with all, don't just put your finger, or your thumb, or your finger or your thumb over there, tap, you simply, see what happens, and the water, of course, spats out a lot faster. Seeing that, she'd sort of wonder if she could do that, but with, manipulating, the water with just chakra. So after getting out of the bath and drying, she'd kind of go into her room, she'd close her eyes, and she'd be able to, and she'd pour water from the air itself, and she'd kind of and after a bit, she'd kind of compress it, and she'd kind of aim out her windows. She'd figure that, it would just bounce off a window, and she'd, just dry it. Yeah, well, not quite. Instead, it would go, when she'd sort of kind of let the pressure go out forward, it perceived to shoot out like a small jet of water, so powerful that it just shoot straight through a window and would leave a small hole for it, and she'd just kind of sit there going, she'd kind of somewhat sit there and go, that wasn't meant to happen. And yeah, she'd end up somewhat kind of, she'd end up somewhat saying that she'd kind of go to sleep and think of kind of how to explain it in the morning, and when morning came, she'd she'd kind of try and think, and she'd start her alarm clock, she'd go, well, guess that's better than anything, grab her alarm clock, she'd throw it at a window and through said window, which would cause it to shatter and hide the fact she'd blown a small hole through it with just water pressure alone. And from there, she'd tell someone who's, and she'd kind of accidentally thrown her, alarm clock, through the window. She wasn't, of course, much of a morning person, or at least waking up to her alarm clock, so, yeah. And once someone, of course, arrived at her apartment, lo and behold, her bedroom window was missing. Or, well, a good chunk of it was. And Husum would just sign, though, of course, somewhat a few minutes later, her window would be replaced, and Husum would tell her to try and, not do it next time to it. She'd state that she'd try not to, though her mental response was, yeah, I'm not going to play with water inside the house again. Yeah. is somewhat, of course, she was lucky the window, she could just break that and, say, she broke her alarm clock, which parts were, of course, indeed found outside. And that and said, broken alarm clock. But, how would she explain, if she shot it through a wall? Let alone, if she shot it through, somewhat a wall that was neighbouring, to next door. And, it proceeds to fire, through the wall and then potentially through maybe the person actually next door, how the hell was she going to explain that? Well, yep, she wouldn't be able to. Well, she'd have to, tell him. She wouldn't be able to, come up with a lie or that. And, yeah. So, from there on, she'd do water manipulation outside of the house. And, yeah, though the main thing she'd do would be mainly playing about with kind of somewhat of, ice, learning how to more partly control it instead of just either having it as, kind of freeze, having constantly build up layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, somewhat how to, how to kind of somewhat, envision, or at least how to, somewhat make an object from her kind of, mind. That and, slowly, somewhat as she got older, she would somewhat be able to do that. Not only that, but also, of course, as I said, her hair colour slightly, went from a snow white to a slight violet. By now, with her being 12, her hair was an obvious light violet colour, though she'd argue that it was violet, though most people would call it more of a kind of somewhat light lavender colour. And yeah. And that was somewhat lass, though. Yeah, she'd of course be, somewhat sitting in kind of somewhat class, waiting for everyone else, these or at least currently waiting for a sensei as, the day before, of course, would kind of go somewhat kind of like in canon, somewhat kind of as music, you would kind of, go, or at least it's, convince Naruto to steal the, forbidden scroll and that. And it'd be kind of, afterwards when they'd, reveal that she was, had the 9,000 inside of her. Or at least in that, why the people hate her, and that, he'd say what she was going to do with, what to, do with her, rape her in front of, Iruka before him, killing him, and then killing her, or that he may instead just, kind of somewhat knock her out and use her as his own, somewhat fuck toy. Yeah, until until I get bored of her and then kill her. Of course, though, yeah, Iruka couldn't believe, what was coming out of Mizuki's mouth and that, and yeah. Though, of course, it'd say, what he would in canon, making out, of course, feel a lot better, and of course, producing 1,000, clones against Mizuki. Yeah. Yeah. Though when she, or at least though she was kind of trying to, do to actually pass was make a, she was trying to do her first kind of jutsu. That wasn't, yeah. Something which was ice clone, simply because, she knew she couldn't do the clone jutsu. She tried over and over again, so she figured trying to make a clone out of ice. And that was, proving a lot more difficult. Hell, she still couldn't, to this day, couldn't make one. She'd gotten the idea. She'd gotten the idea once. Or at least when she'd first failed, when she'd, failed on the clone. And she'd figured that'd probably be, a recurrent theme. And, yeah. So she'd, try to, thus, from that point, try and make a ice clone. But yeah, though she did have out some hope that it was just a kind of one-off thing, but of course it wasn't. Anyway, though, and so also, of course, her snobby outfit would be kind of what she was wearing, which is a strapless, what is it? Yeah, it's like a kind of strapless, backless, sleeveless, somewhat kind of mini skirt dress. Yeah, somewhat with the middle being a kind of somewhat blue gem that somewhat kind of is the kind of same colour as her eyes, not maybe lapis. Not quite sure if it would be lapis. I think lapis is a bit too blue. I think it's a dark blue. Lapis is. It'd be more of, sort of light blue like her eyes are. And yeah. And well, yeah, of course I had, some, well, yeah. And of course I might have chest, had some, she did kind of have a chest, something Chakra kind of sort of disliked, and that. As, Chakra was, only pretty much a double A cup, in others flat, whilst Naruto was a medium-sized A cup. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, though, put something that, though, she did also have a small, somewhat black kunai, well, not kunai, she had a small, somewhat black, well, she had a kind of, somewhat like the, or at least a similar colour to somewhat her somewhat outfit, her snobby outfit, kind of rich outfit, somewhat, hip pouch, that had some kunai, shuriken, and, some kunai and shuriken. Of course, some, first aid, and also, she kept her house keys, and also her, at least the, somewhat toad frog, her Gamma-chan. Yeah. Yeah. So somewhat that should also be wearing somewhat, black, somewhat, Conrichi heeled, boots. Yeah, open-toed, somewhat Conrichi boots. And yeah. I know, though, but yeah, from there, at least 3 hours, of course, later, though, or at least, though, something she wasn't wearing would be her Hittite, mainly because, or at least much that night, when she'd, returned the Forbidden Scroll and that to Hizen, somewhat they'd taught, and because she was somewhat wearing the, or at least what Iruka could put around her, somewhat had, his Hittite, or, no, hers, to Iruka with, oh, well, not Iruka, Hizen, or at least somewhat, so Hizen would kind of decide, you tell her that she didn't necessarily have to wear the Hittite. Seemingly out of the blue should be kind of confused her, but it's a, simple that I may, Shinobi, say, Mans, yes, it is. Though I have a student that doesn't wear his Hittite, which you could be kind of surprised to hear. You do? Who? Hokkai-san, if you don't mind me asking, I was about to say, his name is Dryer. Should go to Dryer. If you could be kind of shocked to meet Driver the Sanin, Hokage-sama. Should go, well, who else? And yeah, now to just be confused of this Dryer person, and yeah. Though he's made someone to explain that, it's kind of, someone to explain and know about Dryer. You'd somewhat tell her about Dryer. Yeah, she'd somewhat nod, and he'd tell her that, well, as long as she wore it, or at least somewhat tomorrow, for the first half, or at least, well, not tomorrow, tomorrow would have been the, well, yeah, no, he'd tell her that she didn't, of course, need to wear it necessarily tomorrow, as it was just, a Shinobi registration picture. A few other questions on that. Probably like, what's going to happen with the money, when you die, who will it go to, kind of stuff like that. Yeah. 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 Something deep after that. go, somewhat when you find out, your somewhat your team when you go to the academy the day after tomorrow. Somewhat the first half you can, you'll have to somewhat via your hit height, so that, everyone knows that you are, you are a shinobi of the relief, and if they, somewhat ask, how you pass, just tell them that, somewhat that I'd decided, somewhat that, similarly, some of your kind of, similar school records looked a bit strange, and I decided to test you and pass you. And yeah, find that, your records were similarly tampered with, something like that. So nod at that, and yeah, of course, nobody really cared that she'd passed. The only person that seemingly was kind of surprised that she'd passed was, or at least that, she was wearing a hit height, was, what's his name? Can't remember his name now. Chakra. Yeah, no, aside from that, nobody else really gave a damn, and she would also, wind up on Team 7. And yeah, as I said, somewhat 3 hours later, Kakashi, somewhat would, appear to, and the, well, yeah, her, somewhat that interactions would pretty much go like in canon with, Sakura kind of, disliking Naruto due to similarly having, some kind of, somewhat larger breasts, and they, overall more kind of elegant, body. She looked, she had that kind of natural cuteness and beautifulness that the other girls simply didn't, and yeah, and that the other girls would kind of always achieve by kind of simply wearing makeup, and that though they could, somewhat see that, and yeah. And yeah. Anyway, though Kakashi more or less saw it as less hate and more kind of jealousy due to, Naruto being simply cuter than her. Yeah. Anyway, though, of course, Naruto's instruction would go pretty much like in canon, as she would hide the fact that she could, manipulate ice, water, and wind, or air. Yes, because she maybe somewhat figured that maybe the old man knew, and if he didn't, she kind of didn't tell him anyway. Mainly to be kind of a bit of a surprise and not necessarily sure how he'd react in that, and considering that he kept the fact that she had the 9-tails, the 9-tails was sealed inside of her. She kind of had a somewhat right to not tell him. After all, if he didn't tell her about a goddamn, the goddamn 9-tailed fox, that killed her parents and a load of other people that was, kind of sealed inside of her. She had she had a right to not tell him about, her ability to manipulate, to produce and manipulate ice, water, and the wind, or, wind. And, yeah. The somewhat day after would also go somewhat similar, with maybe her using maybe a bit of wind to try, to somewhat get herself, out of the trap or that. Though nevertheless, it still wind up with, Sasuke, giving her some food, then Sakura, and, passing like that. And 2 weeks would pass from there, not a month, but 2, a week would pass. Yeah, a week would pass as she'd signed that she'd kind of, only somewhat, because, only getting really, they did get training, the somewhat, kind of the somewhat training that he would have to be there for, in other words, pretty much sparring, make sure they didn't kill one another, and, someone doing, some missions and some teamwork exercise to make sure they could work as a team, and a bit of kind of, strength training here or there. besides from that, they didn't really train them in anything like chakra control or ninjutsu, elemental control, none of that. As well, he kind of figured that, well, that if they, that they could, granted, if they wanted to learn ninjutsu, they could go kind of to the library. Likewise, chakra control as well, library, and that unless they wanted his help, he wouldn't help them. He wouldn't teach them anything else unless they asked him to, for help to, train them. And yeah, kind of somewhat in his mind, if they weren't going to ask him for the training, he wasn't going to give them the somewhat training. It just meant that they weren't taking it seriously, and yeah. So she'd somewhat, she'd end up once everyone would sort of leave, or at least Sasuke and Sakura would leave, she'd she'd hope Kakashi, would sort of stay, and he generally did stay, and only once they all left, the, Sharingan 7 would he leave as well. Noticing that he was still very much there and kind of looking at her, she'd somewhat would kind of go, Sensei, yes, Naruto, could somewhat help me with, somewhat what he, his book was away, so she somewhat knew that his focus was purely on her. And yeah, well, apparently you'd see her, she'd seen him put his book away when she'd, kind of called his name. Well, not really his name, but his kind of title, what he was to her at the moment. And yeah, someone to help with, what ninjutsu, chakra, that. And she'd somewhat kind of think about it, she wasn't necessarily sure. She kind of wanted help with kind of control, sort of chakra control and that. So she still wanted to, do that, sort of, ice clone as, it'd be useful. Yeah, the only place she probably couldn't really do it or struggle to do it would be, the desert, and where in the hell was she going to wind up in a desert? Yeah, it was highly unlikely she was, so, yeah. And so she'd end up somewhat kind of asking Kakashi, well, he should go, she'd somewhat say, I assume somewhat the old man kind of told me, you'd kind of rocking eyebrow that you have 9 tails inside of you. No, I figured you knew that, well, considering everyone else seems to know, to which he'd sleep, even though it wasn't him keeping it secret, all this time from her, it's still somewhat wince as he, and yeah. Though someone does not, then what? Sam hasn't really told me kind of anything really about you. Besides what was in somewhat kind of the academy said, or at least what was in the academy report, but otherwise really nothing to it. Someone should go well. Should somewhat end up kind of, so should go well. I've always kind of somewhat, when I was younger, and still now, ever since I could somewhat remember, I've always been kind of, somewhat, when it snow, I'd, go outside and, playing that in the snow, but for something like, that's, sort of any, kid, somewhat like that. I'd kind of do that in only a, somewhat in a somewhat strap, well, in a kind of somewhat, or at least it's I'd do that in a dress, not a kind of winter dress, in a somewhat summer dress, and a strapless, sleeveless dress. Sometimes just a sometimes just a somewhat just a top and maybe shorts, all that. And now more so just a crop top, shorts, and just out in snow having fun. You can actually just stare at her and bit bewildered and surprised at that, and of course you starting to realise if I did it like that, I'd simply be very cold. But as I said, I liked the cold, and it never bothered me. And yeah, I kind of, I guess, figured out why when I was about 6 or so years old. And how did you figure that out? She'd hold out her hand as she'd perceived to produce a somewhat kunai made out of pure ice. Granted, it'd be more somewhat, kind of white, say, normal, what a kind of ice cube looks like. And yeah, Kakashi would be dumbfounded. That's ice was really, somewhat ice. You're not a Yuki. No, but you'd be surprised. And yeah, can I encourage sometimes you'd go, sure, it'd be probably, it'd sort of ice, so it'd be cold. You'd somewhat nod, isn't it cold for you? To which you'd say, no, it feels like a normal kunai. Well, besides from it being ice, it feels, like a normal kunai, a bit wet as it's, slows down to melt. Which someone nodded to touch it, and yeah, it felt exactly like a kunai. Well, it didn't feel like a kunai, it felt like it felt like ice. And by a bit of, somewhat water, ice, cold, and yeah, you'd be surprised and pallid, somewhat. You'd throw it, and lo and behold, or, you'd throw it at, the kind of targets the 3, wooden stumps in the ground, and it would sink in just as far as a normal kunai would. And yeah, it'd be you'd be surprised at that, and of course that's not the only thing I could do. I can also do this. You'd produce a ball of ice, then a ball of water. You can manipulate water as well, as you'd go, no, you'd see the ball of solid ice, and she'd then do a somewhat ball of air, and she'd kind of go, I can also kind of somewhat do this, a ball of solid air, kind of look at it, and you'd go, you have, I guess that kind of makes sense, you have wind release as well. At least that you can somewhat manipulate the wind in that, and have a wind affinity as well. Yeah, and she'd go, that's kind of what it's kind of called. You'd blink, what you've been calling it, kind of figured that, or, kind of, you'd blink and go, that makes sense, I can see where you'd get that from. And, yeah, and, I presume you can, as such, then manipulate water to which kind of, makes sense, it's ice, water, some water freezes into ice and ice melts into water. So you'd perceive to, and yeah, you'd sort of perceive to kind of hold out a hand, not to be nowhere near any lake, or, so much, body of water, as water would perceive to, form in a hand, and, it'd be a ball of water, and you can actually just stare, wide-eyed. His eyes were somewhat sure they were wide when, he saw her produce a kunai out of pure ice, out of ice, but his eyes looked like they were about, his eye, not eyes, but his eye looked like it was about to pop out of its socket. And, yeah. he should sort of look kind of at him and should go, there's something wrong, sense should, stop, doing it, and the water would fall, sort of goes through our hands and that, and and hand would be dry. How it's like water manipulation technique that she, figured out that, she could repulse the water from her hand, thus allowing her hand to be dry whilst being submerged in water. Or when pulling her hand out of water, whilst her hand could be wet whilst in the water, pulling it out, it'd be dry. It'd be like it was dry inside the water, and inside, say, a body of water. Yeah, anyway. And dry, not dry. You can actually simply go, do you know how rare that is? Chakra had to decide manipulating water. No, not that. That's kind of common. I'm not on about that. I'm about the ability to just pull water from the air itself. Should go. People can't do that. It go. Naruto, the only person to have done that in history, or kind of recorded history, is none other than the second Hokage himself, Tobirama Sanju. Should just think, really? He was kind of known as he was known to be able to turn tides of the tides of a fight by simply, using salt water. He could be out in the middle of a desert, and because there's water in the air, you could, use water jutsu. That's the only downside of water is, of learning to manipulate water, is you had to carry water around you unless you could pull it from the air itself. And, so just nod and you'd go right, and I presume you want help in being able, to kind of, get better at manipulating them, right? Which you'd nod, well, yeah. He'd go, well, I can't exactly help you with sort of your ice, huh? Sort of, why? Isn't it just somewhat kind of should kind of quack out to the side, not kind of realizing it's a, or at least they can kind of consider it a bloodline. Kind of look at it and go, right, well, there's 5 basic natures: water, wind, fire, earth, and lightning. Somewhat wind is only somewhat. We start with fire. Fire is weak against water, strong against wind. Wind is thus weak against fire, strong against lightning. Lightning is weak against wind, strong against earth. Earth is weak against lightning, strong against water, and water is weak against earth and strong against fire. And granted, somewhat the elements that they are weak against, they can overcome with enough, of course, somewhat with enough skill and knowledge of somewhat your, somewhat element and training in it, you can overcome it. And of course, somewhat having, having an affinity for, having an affinity just means it's easier to do. You can learn all 5 elements. Should somewhat just nod and should go, so then how comes you can do somewhat ice, sensei? It'd go, well, because it's kind of a bloodline, somewhat not a bloodline. Nowadays, somewhat tell about, the Yuki clan, and that should be confused. It should go around Uzumaki, not, this Yuki clan, and you'd nod and and you'd go, well, it's tough, that your parents, kind of had, somewhat a water and wind, somewhat affinity, and you should just kind of think and should go, well, still don't necessarily kind it still doesn't really make sense. That, it's just kind of, a bloodline that, somebody else couldn't be able to do it. You'd look at it and go, what do you exactly mean by that? I mean, well, it's just mixing wind and water together. After all, somewhat. I kind of think, somewhat if, somewhat if you have a strong, say, I don't know, well, yeah, ice. If you have, strong, fire, water and wind affinity, it'd make a, somewhat weak ice affinity, and then the stronger your ice affinity is, the stronger then the wind and water would have to be to, make it. Yeah, Kakashi would blink and he'd think about it momentarily, and that did kind of line up with those that had elemental bloodline limits that, like, scorch, release wind and fire, or, yeah. And as you'd think about it a bit more, you'd go, well, lucky for you, I can manipulate all 5 elements, Naruto. And if if what you're saying is true, then in a way, if I could properly mix wind and water together, I should, by your logic, be able to make ice. And yeah, the of course kind of only problem with that is, well, once I've kind of got water down to, or at least once I've kind of got water down, granted I can't pull water from the outside, so I'm going to have to learn better to do that, which you're kind of going to have to help me with, which is not. The only other thing is that I can't, well, I've kind of only got, like, level 1 of wind manipulation down. Level 1 of wind manipulation, there's levels to which you'd go, well, kind of. In other words, to, build up your, one's control over wind. Like, the first step I can do, which is to slice a leaf in half with just your chakra. Yes, you'd ask what was level 2. To which you'd state that, tell her when she got that far. She'd just kind of somewhat nod. And you'd go, and well, you don't necessarily need to learn level, or at least somewhat water manipulation. She'd kind of ask why, and you'd simply start and she'd go, you can pull water from the air itself. And that, I'd say that's level 3 of water manipulation. So, yeah, I guess you're right then. Would, in a way, level 3 of wind be in? It just started go, firstly maybe want to learn what level 2 of wind is, then kind of think about what level 3 of wind manipulation maybe. Okay. And from there, or at least do somewhat thing, and you'd kind of realise that, or at least, and yeah, from that, you'd, tell her to grab a leaf and, try and, put her hands together and try and, split it. And, yeah. And, somewhat as you, try and do that, of course, so much you'd, or at least though, somewhat as you, try and do that, Kakashi would ask if she could do, or at least, somewhat if, what she'd kind of been, somewhat she'd kind of, discovered with her ice, wind, and water, on her own, to which she'd state. She'd go, well, kind of, wind is good at kind of, cutting through somewhat, loose things like rope and paper and that. Which she'd did think, that's kind of good. She already knows, to, think that as, a sharp, thing. And, yeah. Though, when it comes to hard things like glass and water and kind of, steel and that, water is kind of good at cutting that, huh? Good at cutting it. Water, you do realise it's like, yeah, I know, but if you, well, look, she'd let the leaf drop to the ground. She'd somewhat walk over to somewhat a tree. She'd close her eyes, so she'd build up, she'd collect some water from the she'd pressurize it, and she'd then let it out, and Kakashi just see for about 3 or 4 seconds a kind of small condensed beam of water shoot out. And when it was somewhat done, she could kind of see, you'd sort of look, and you could see a small hole right the way through the tree. And not only that, going behind the tree, it go also through the rock that was behind it, and then into the ground itself. And it'd go, and how did you kind of find that out? She'd kind of go, sort of done it maybe before, where you've put your thumb over the tap, somewhat over the tap, and it's kind of seems to run far, but it kind of speeds up and that. So she'd nod. Yeah, I kind of figured I'd maybe be able to, do that with, manipulating the water. So after my bath, I'd, kind of got dried in that, and I'd kind of, do it in my bedroom. And I kind of aimed out my somewhat window, so I figured, I could just, that, it's just water, I could just, wipe it off. She'd nod, and she'd realise she'd go, instead and when you did it did a hole through your window. It should go, I kind of, I decided that when I saw it, I'd just kind of, somewhat sleep and think of, how to tell him that I needed a new window. And next day, I kind of couldn't think of an idea besides just breaking it. And so I decided to just throw my alarm clock at it. And my own kind of, from that day, I kind of somewhat went to a training ground and, a faraway training ground to manipulate water and that. And he'd nod at that. I should say that, kind of didn't want to, do it in the house where I could have, shot it through, the wall. And considering it went through, somewhat, kind of, the glass, my window, it, could easily go through the wall, and I kind of, didn't want it, going through a person and maybe killing them or that. And, Kakashi would nod, I can understand. I can, it makes sense. And somewhat from there, somewhat the next day, somewhat instead of, or at least when, they'd be somewhat after, at least when they'd somewhat arrive at the training ground, he'd tell them that he's somebody's going to teach them a chakra control, or at least a useful kind of chakra, somewhat, or at least something, somewhat a useful chakra control exercise. They'd be kind of, curious about even something that himself. As he didn't tell her anything about this, as he just, kind of somewhat, kind of, they somewhat talked about. So he tried to split, a leaf with just a chakra, with, wind manipulation. Anyway, of course, he perceived, take them over, to some trees, and would proceed to walk up the tree. And, he would, of course, tell them that this was, that this was tree walking, and the idea was to, walk up the tree. And that initially they could, get a running start. And of course he'd throw 3 kunai at them, sort at their feet, and he'd tell them to, use the kunai to mark where they were. They would nod, and of course Sakura would go fast, to which she'd just run straight up the, the tree, and somewhat seeing that, Sakura would of course try and get Sasuke's attention, to which would fail, and Naruto would then, try and of course fail. Sasuke would try as well, and also fail. And of course from there he'd tell Sakura to come down, to which he would, and he'd then send her back up, and he'd tell her to, do that up until she felt somewhat, tired, tired, and when she felt her chakra, reserves were low. And yeah, he knew she had low chakra reserves, so he was going to do that to get her reserves up. And yeah, of course, from that, a week would go by. And yeah, of course, well, or at least somewhat after that, once they'd kind of done that for the day, he dismissed them. So once they'd done that for about 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours, he dismissed them, though before he'd dismiss them, after he'd, of course, end up asking Chakra kind of the secret, and how she kind of managed to do it. Before, she went up again, to which she would end up, telling Naruto, helping them out. To which, I am. To which, yeah. And, well, yeah. And so, yeah. Anyway, though, of course, or at least when Kakashi dismissed him, Sasuke came over and would ask Naruto, what, advice, Sakura told him, to which he would tell, of course, Sasuke. And, yeah. So, Kakashi could see that, they were slowly starting to, become a team. And, yeah. Though from that, once they were dismissed, he'd kind of remember about, the shadow clone and that, she could make, 1,000 shadow clones. And, of course, about, memory feedback and that she could potentially use that as, to speed up. So, but you couldn't exactly let her, do 1,000, maybe 100. Yeah, as, the memory, of course, the backlash and that. So, once they would, leave, of course, Naruto to stay, he'd, just as she was about to go and grab a leaf, he'd stop her and he'd tell her, somewhat, about, or at least, the cyclone's kind of, that, kind of hidden, somewhat kind of ability, memory feedback and that. And, kind of why it was used for, information gathering and that, to which she'd somewhat nod in that, and, Kakashi would, have a produce one, he'd produce one, they'd go, away and she, she'd sort of, let her say, yeah, she'd go, yay, I get, 3 bottles of ramen. Yeah, to which Kakashi would, somewhat grumble to himself, somewhat, why on earth did they, somewhat do that? Anyway, though, yeah, then she'd then somewhat realize, right, I could use this for, yes, somewhat child training before you go into, make 1,000 clones or that. Firstly, I'm going to limit you to 100, and even then, that may be on the kind of high side, as that's the thing, is that when the clone sends back its memories and that, it's not just its memories that come back. Of course, the, chakra, you've probably realized that already, but so does the fatigue and any pain it's, got. So whilst the injury may not, appear on you, the pain of that injury would kind of phantom pain. So it should somewhat nod at. And yeah, and of course that's its, accumulated fatigue. In other words, you'll feel tired, however tired it felt, you'd feel, and of course, multiply that by 100 clones, and yeah, 1,000 could potentially kill you from, overwhelm, it could overwhelm your mind, and you could potentially, die from memory overload, potentially. So, yeah. Should somewhat, nod still, that was a, 100 times increase in speed. And yeah, so from there, she proceeded to do so, making 100 clones. Though Kakashi tell her, of course, because she was doing it, that she only needed 99, but still make 100, as, that extra, that one clone could then help him to, to start trying to pull water from the air itself. They, somewhat, they nod. And so, from there, of course, somewhat from there, time would go by, and or at least somewhat 2 weeks would go by. Or at least, well, no. it meant that the week would go by, and somewhat from there, it kind of feel comfortable enough that he'd tell Naruto that she could bump it up to 500. And of course, and that also, Sasuke and Naruto being the last, would, be able to get, tree walking. So from there, once they'd, done that, he'd move on to water walking, to which they'd get, Naruto would get within maybe, like, the first 5 to 10 attempts. Sasuke, well, somewhat would follow kind of afterwards. After about the 100 or so attempt, you'd end up shakily getting it down, and about 1,000 to 10,000, or about 1,000 attempts after that. So 2 to 3 hours later, Chakra would end up getting it down as well. And so, anyway, somewhat with that done, he'd also decide to kind of teach some of the Senshin. Mainly he decided to teach Naruto that, but to kind of not show favoritism, he decided to teach the 3 of them that jutsu instead. And with that, they, somewhat with that done, and of course, not that surprised, considering, here's when I told him that Naruto had learnt the Chakra jutsu in an hour, that, she'd picked it up relatively quickly. And, anyway, though from there, 2 weeks would pass, and she'd end up successfully doing it. She'd end up successfully being able to split the leaf with her, between her hands. And today, Kakashi, or kind of talked to Tenzo, aka Yamato, about somewhat kind of producing a waterfall, as it would save him, hunting down, trying to find a waterfall within Konoha. Land of Fire, somewhat easier. Konoha, somewhat difficult, especially one that, they could stand in front of. And so it'd just be easier to have, one produce, somewhat that the, somewhat lake. And plus, because, that, Tenzo could, make a small platform for both him and, Nat to stand on, and of course he could thus make it, kind of, somewhat wider. Anyway. So, of course, somewhat, he told Naruto that, or at least, tomorrow, that he'd tell her about, level 2 of wind manipulation, as she'd finished it that day. And, she just somewhat nod at that, and once she somewhat knew that, she kind of, or at least, somewhat, as they've completed that first mission of 2, she'd somewhat decide that maybe today he'd be more lenient and giving her, and he may assign them a C rank mission. She knew that, what Kakashi had planned today, and, somewhat after, team training and all, and, but, this may be the only chance they get of getting a C rank, and so should proceed to ask, ask Kyuzin about giving them, a kind of harder mission. And Yuka should kind of somewhat look at her a bit surprised, and she'd kind of look at her with the look of, this may be our one, the one chance we get to get a C rank. And of course, as much as Kakashi, somewhat, or at least as much as Kakashi may feel a bit, or a bit surprised on that, or maybe a bit somewhat hard, or that she's thrown her, his plans on that, kind of out the window. You could somewhat agree that, they, somewhat doing, C rank, that, at least a hard mission would be somewhat nice. And, and so, of course, somewhat he was I am, the kind of event where, he was going to end up, explaining that, somewhat, getting into a, somewhat not a, D's into maybe C's, and then, but, of course, you'd end up, telling them what she may have for, dinner. Yeah. Of course, Susan would be a bit, annoyed and get their attentions to it. Yes, that he'd probably hear, about it simply later. To which though Susan would somewhat sign, you'd go, well, Kakashi, do you believe that already? To which Kakashi would be somewhat surprised, and he'd go, is he actually going to get, a sign as a C rank? You'd go, hi, Hokage-sama, I believe they are ready, but Hokage-sama, you can't be saying, seriously, they're just getting, they've only, they're only, nearly minutes getting, they've only been getting for about a month. I'm sorry, Luca, plus, have trust in your fellow Jonin, your fellow Shinobi. Yeah, he'd somewhat just allow a kind of sigh, he'd nod as Uzun go, let's see here, how about this one? He'd get the, scroll and he'd give it to Kakashi. Of course, that being the, Land of Waves mission. And yeah, somewhat after kind of, reading it, bridge builder, someone crying, escort back to the Land of Waves and to protect, him from bandits as he and his team builds a bridge. And that estimated time of mission completion, 1 month. He'd go, someone will take this mission, Hokage-sama. So Susan would somewhat nod, and he'd go bring in, the bridge builder, all that. So, Tarzan would, somewhat walk in, and, he'd, of course, he'd somewhat make, he'd kind of make a bit of fun, somewhat, like he would, well, yeah, Naruto would still be called short, though she wasn't necessarily that much shorter than, she was, shorter than Sakura, but she wasn't that much shorter, maybe a centimetre or two, there wasn't much of a noticeable difference. And yeah, though she'd still be somewhat annoyed because she didn't like being called short-handed. She could care less if you called her flat-chested or whatever. Comment about her height, and she'd be producing a sword, she'd be making a sword and, going to kill you. Kakashi put her hand somewhat on her head and going, no, Naruto, something you can't kill the client. Yeah, but she just huff. Bro sounding pretty much like that, somewhat kind of, her eyes kind of seemingly going somewhat kind of, somewhat giving her kind of, death glare twitch. It kind of somewhat kind of on that, and yeah. Though Kakashi would, of course, show him that, that he was a Jonin, and that, he's, more enough for this kind of, C-rank mission. Yeah, he would somewhat nod, he would somewhat relax a bit more. And from some of that, they would of course talk a bit, and he would ask if, or somewhat if they could, if tomorrow at 8 would be, good time to leave. To which he'd just somewhat just nod. And yeah, with that he'd dismiss his team. And we would tell, well, prior to dismissing them, he'd of course tell them to pack for a month. And yeah, with that he'd of course dismiss them. And yeah. Of course, they would all simply sunshine, though after it sunshine to the rooftop of the Hokage's office, to which Kakashi would, also sunshine there too, to which he'd kind of go on, she'd somewhat kind of, apologise, kind of for an outburst of, to, simply trying to get a C rank. To which Kakashi and he'd go, I kind of understand now too, that, it's kind of a, somewhat, today, he may be willing to give us a C rank, and if you didn't ask today, he may be, he may not, be lenient, say tomorrow in giving us one. And yeah, so just somewhat just nods still, they somewhat just wave it. Maybe something, meh. Though, anyway, though I've got something to introduce you to, though, or at least though, logo, so at least they'll meet me in Training Ground 7. So someone nods who'd got sent over to there, as Kikashi would go and fetch Tenzo. A few seconds later, a few seconds to a minute later, Kikashi would arrive with Tenzo, as he'd perceived to, instead of, making up a fake name for, said Armbu, somewhat, he'd screw it, if she could, prank the Armbu in that. She could, she could keep, somewhat the, secret of an Armbu's, somewhat actual name. She'd go, well, and he'd go, he'd go somewhat, this Naruto is somewhat a friend of mine in Armbu, he's Tenzo, this is Naruto. And, they'd somewhat kind of, great one over though, Tenzo would go, though, Kikashi, though, Kikashi senpai, you're not meant to kind of tell my name, somewhat to, somewhat people so openly. You go, I know you, but it's Naruto. It's not like she's, going around telling, somewhat people about, how to sneak into Armbu headquarters now and prank, you'd somewhat just at him. You'd try and have a point there, and you'd somewhat, though Kakashi would look at Naruto and go, you don't understand that. Pretty much, that knowing his name, his real name, does put him high. Kind of, some danger. I promise I won't tell anyone. Even if they somewhat, even if it means me dying, I'll take your name to somewhat the grave. It'd be kind of surprised at that, and he'd kind of, somewhat nod. And, he'd go and. He'd somewhat, he'd perceive, he'd somewhat, somewhat Naruto, or at least Kakashi take them to, the pond in Training Ground 7, as from there Tenzo would perceive to make, 2 waterfalls. So it should be momentarily confused, so it should look to Kakashi, it would simply reminder that, he'd only done level 1 of wind manipulation, and that 2 waterfalls meant 1 for her, 1 for him. She'd nod, and she'd also realise that it was, and you'd go, hey, I'm gonna keep it somewhat fair now. Whilst true, I can make on a good day, 10 shadow clones. Somewhat, of course I can't. Should be right. Should go, you could only make 10. And I did perceive to, show her the, Sharingan Eye, and would state that this was constantly draining, and that if he didn't have it, he could probably make either 50 to 100 shadow clones. And, to which would be surprised, surprised at that. And, and of course, and that's the thing, if I could make 100 shadow clones without my Sharingan Eye, you've got about 10 times my reserves, which of course adds up to, 1,000 shadow clones. So it should somewhat nod. That's the thing now. So if you wasn't holding back the 9-tailed fox, for example, you'd have 100 times that. So wait, that would mean, 10,000 shadow clones. And she'd just stand there dumbfoundedly that without the fox she could potentially make 10,000. Though granted, the fox could have, increased the reserves and that, so let's kind of somewhat, cut that, in half. That's still 5,000 shadow clones. That's still a lot more than anyone I know of could make alive. The only one who could probably surpass you is probably, Tobirama himself, the creator of the jutsu, and maybe his brother, the first Hokage. So not Tobirama. I've always forget his name. The first Hokage. Yeah. Which Naruto would be surprised and would nod. And yeah, from there, at least, well, yeah. Though from there, of course, somewhat Tenzo would perceive to do would release, which would be surprised at. And yeah, which, it kind of, it somewhat, it wouldn't really, it'd somewhat simply go, I'm not related to the first Hokage before you ask Naruto. He'd somewhat would kind of, reveal that he'd been kind of experimented on he'd been somewhat experimented on, and this was kind of the result of the experiments, to which he'd be somewhat kind of surprised and a bit horrified, to kind of, find out, but she'd simply kind of, she'd just nod and accept that. And yeah. And yeah, from there, yeah, somewhat though they would, walk and they would stand, somewhat on the edge. Or at least, though, Kakashi would make 3 cyclones. 2 of them, somewhat with him. Naruto would also make 3, as one of them each would go down to again teach said, her cyclone would teach the Kakashi cyclone how to pour water from the air itself, to which he was making slow progress. He was making, progress towards pouring water from the air. From there, at least before that, though, somewhat before they, walk up there, he'd, he'd ask if there was anything else, as he kind of had a mission he kind of had some mission he'd kind of delayed, somewhat, delayed, to which, Kakashi, yes, yeah, Tenzo, there's, somewhat nothing else you can go now. Just you just nod, and you kind of wish someone, good luck in mastering, and getting down level 2. Just they'd nod and they'd, say, goodbye to him. And so from there, after a few hours, after about 2 to 3 hours, they would somewhat leave, and of course, somewhat go back. Of course, after that, so the next day, they'll somewhat roughly arrive, somewhat at or around, well, not at or before 8 o'clock. So from Kakashi, who'd be about 5 minutes late. Instead of being 3 hours late, they'd decide to come 5 minutes late. Yeah, from there, they would go and somewhat leave. And yeah, of course, somewhat Kakashi, they would, somewhat as, because as, time would go by, and as it would be about, say, 10 o'clock, so 2 hours would somewhat go by, they'd end up walking past a puddle. Naruto would see that and would be kind of confused, as it wasn't cold, granted, someone she knew it wasn't cold, because she felt, some of the outside, the air itself felt warm, and, somewhat kind of molding a bit of, water chakra. She could feel there was water in the air, but not enough to indicate that it rained. And from what she could tell from the water in the air, the moisture in the air, it had been longer than what that puddle should be. That puddle shouldn't be there, which then meant she'd kind of look to Kakashi, who would just indicate her to, continue forward, to kind of ignore it in a way. To which would pretty much tell her, I've got a plan, don't worry, just ignore it. For right now. She would have, trust in Kakashi. And of course, a few seconds later, they would come out. And, well, yeah, they'd come out and would simply kill Kakashi. And Sakura would go, no, no sensei, and she kind of shakily, jump in front of, the bridge builder. Of course, they somewhat, though, yeah, of course, Sasuke would be somewhat closer to Kakashi, so it would make sense for them to go from, there to Sasuke if they were going after them. But if they're going after the Bridge Builder, they'd go after Naruto next, as he was the next closest to the Bridge Builder than Chakra, and the Bridge Builder himself, to which they would indeed go after and try and kill Naruto. But as they would swing as they would, appear, seemingly, behind it, which should, turn around. Of course, the chain was already going, or at least would kind of somewhat seemingly, swing, or at least kind of sort of forward. Yeah, though Sasuke would seemingly, or at least, somewhat seeing that was about to, jump up to throw, a second in that. Those should instead step forward and should kind of grab a hold of the chain. Sasuke and Sakura kind of seen that and he'd somewhat stop it. It seemed she hadn't been, somewhat shot. At least she seemingly hadn't frozen up to it. She initially had done it. It was just the second she'd felt their presence behind them or something like that. She wasn't exactly too sure. She just knew they were behind her and had, turned around and had kind of had a momentary froze, but seen the chain kind of somewhat there. It snapped her kind of somewhat out of it. Her, somewhat like, are you just going to die now? Or what? And so she kind of stepped forward, she grabbed the chain, and she'd simply say that when metal is cold enough, it shatters like glass. That someone just look at her and go, so it's not cold, and it's not like you could just, as she'd clench down even harder around probably somewhat link, one of the links. The chain, she could feel it somewhat felt a bit moist. And of course it'd feel a bit wet as there was a poison on it. And of course, poison is kind of, somewhat on the chain was, water-based. Thus meant it could also be frozen. To which, thus, ice would form around the chain. That being the freezing the poison solid, as there'd be a slight kind of seemingly shine to it, as light would reflect from the ice, and she'd perceive to freeze kind of the chain link to a point of where she'd, with chakra enhanced strength, would shatter the link. They'd be somewhat shocked. They'd of course disconnect the kind of chain because it's useless now. And Sasuke would run after one and she'd run after the other, and a few seconds to a minute or so later, Kakashi would arrive. Kakashi would, wrap them up, wrap them up, run tree to which Sasuke would kind of mutter out to show off. And of course, from there he would, kind of interrogate, them, and then turn on Tazna. And to which, Tazna would end up, revealing the actual true scope of the actual mission and the importance of the bridge, to which he'd end up telling them that it's kind of, more important that they should kind of go back to the village. And that as well to kind of seek aid for Naruto, or at least should be kind of confused her by me. It would just point to her hand, to which she'd see that there'd been a slight, cut to it, which is kind of poison should kind of momentarily surprised, and kind of in certain instance of things, she'd go to her sort of hip pouch, grab a kunai, and would proceed to go sort of on this black, I'll kind of never freeze up again. So it's kind of Kakashi, or at least all three of them would kind of be surprised, froze. They didn't seem like she did. She'd kind of, stab herself. Kakashi would stab herself, and she'd then, some pull it out, and of course, she'd, get the blood off it and put it back to its Kakashi. That was good, and, kind of nice and kind of a bit cool and all, but, that's one way to get poisoned up, but now you may kind of, die from kind of a lack of blood. She just blink, and her small kind of, white skin would perceive to go pale. Kakashi would just shake his head. And yeah, of course, from there you'd sort of wrap it up, they would see it start to kind of, heal as you'd sort of have that, it's, the fox healing. And, well, yeah, though, in fact, it was kind of, or at least it would heal somewhat faster than canon, as, of course, something or at least, something I did, well, not, didn't necessarily forget to say, just excluded, was that she didn't have whisker marks on her cheeks, and yeah, and the fox damn knew she had absorbed his chakra, some of his chakra, where it really seemed it went into enlarging her reserves and her healing factor, her healing ability, of Uzumaki sort of ability, and as well probably a somewhat life force in others, somewhat, yeah, it's all orders meant songs is the stronger. It just wasn't more of a kind of visual thing. And yeah. And so likewise the cut would be kind of healing about twice as fast as it would be in canon, as that was our healing factor, as well as the 9 Towers Fox's chakra, the somewhat healing it. And yeah, still Kakashi then abandons it up, and from there, of course, somewhat after that, he would, tell them that, of course, it would, potentially get harder. To which, sorry now to state that, their common sense say, sorry though, it's kind of bad and all, but, their village is kind of somewhat on the line, and that, what kind of, if he's beside anything like in canon, anyway, they would end up, voting to continue, to which Sasuke would, and kind of Sakura, kind of, somewhat sorry would, as well as a crush, would Sasuke. And yeah, from there, they would, somewhat, they would, of course, thus continue it, they'd go make it to the not to the bridge, the boat, they'd, and that kind of part would end up going like in canon, where they would end up arriving, Kakashi, being in the waters, going up against Zabza, kicking him into, said, water, into, maybe doing water prison. And yeah, some of that stuff would go like in canon. And yeah, of course, what would change is that, of course, they wouldn't necessarily have, they'd already be able to do, tree and water walking. So what would they do? Well, simply once Kakashi would sort of wake up, he would have them kind of, do some, sparring and that. And yeah. So, somewhat nevertheless, of course, somewhat still, or at least somewhat on that, day, or at least somewhat, or, somewhat still on the, same day, that kind of somewhat, that, Inami would end up, blowing up, somewhat on, Indom and Naruto, blow, kind of, somewhat blow up as well, that she, that, he called this a hard life, he had, sort of similarly almost nightmarish of a hard life. And yeah, of course, he'd end up, storming out, and yeah, of course, somewhat from there, of course, the next day, she'd end up, of course, somewhat meeting Haku, the nuking that city, not nuking the fake hunting that it saved Zabza. Yeah, of course, she'd end up, someone they would end up talking about their pasts, and she'd end up, strangely, for some odd reason, showing Haku that she could actually produce ice, and kind of someone seeing that, Haku would end up asking her if she could meet if she could meet her here tomorrow. Naruto would somewhat nod, and yeah. And so somewhat the, of course, well, yeah. Wait, no. Yeah. Though, yeah, and though somewhat as Haku would walk away, Suzuko and somewhat Naruto, yeah. Somewhat, I'm a male. Naruto just start somewhat at him and go, well, definitely cute for somewhat a being a boy then. So it's Haku would slightly somewhat blush. And that, and yeah, Naruto realising what she somewhat said would also somewhat, blush as well. Somewhat a bit, and yeah, of course, next day would roll around and Haku would be there. Naruto would also be there the similar somewhat time. She just kind of camped out, deciding that, she kind of wanted to just, be outside. Kind of simply somewhat sleep outside. Or that. And, yeah. Anyway, though, Haku would, somewhat give her, somewhat a scroll and would kind of tell her that, to kind of open it once she somewhat got, back to, somewhat kind of how that, where she's from. She'd kind of somewhat nod and yeah. She'd go and, yeah. Yeah, she'd be kind of, she'd somewhat tell Naruto, he would tell Naruto that he'd kind of, somewhat had kind of, similarly, had somewhat found skull and had kind of somewhat, kept there and I didn't really read what it was and, yeah. So would nod and she'd kind of, sneak back in and would put it into her, backpack. And, yeah. Of course, from there, the kind of events would go down where, she'd end up oversleeping, Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, would leave, she'd end up saving, Tamari and Tsunami. And that'd all go like in canon, but what would somewhat change would be where, some of the, or at least somewhat, the last moments of Haku. When Naruto realized that it was kind of, Haku from using Fox struck and punched her through the fucking ice mirror. Somewhat, mask kind of shattering, or, breaking off and that. Yeah, so, come and they'd end up in, found some birds and, somewhat Haku would, go, would similarly apologize and would go to someone leaving Naruto, and she'd somewhat watch in slow motion as Haku would kind of sink into somewhat the ice mirror and then, she'd cross and she'd somewhat watch and she'd go, no, she'd sort of her, didn't know, but something deep down just somewhat kind of changed and the next moment, well, Kakashi would find his hand locked in place in ice. Somewhat surrounded by ice. Haku would kind of stand there somewhat shocked, even Zabza himself would be shocked to see a wall of, somewhat ice. It'd go Haku, to which he'd shake his, Haku would shake his head, not me, Zabza-sama. And yeah, he'd be kind of confused, and Haku would realize, and Kakashi would somewhat look over to Naruto, to which he would kind of sort of, and yeah. And, somewhat from there, she'd, somewhat, yeah. Somewhat Kakashi would go with somewhat would somewhat they kind of momentarily just kind of stare at one another in kind of an awkward somewhat silence as Zabza would kind of stare, would somewhat look at Naruto and would go, Yuki, are you? To which she'd just kind of shake she'd shake her head. And yeah, Zabza would now kind of be conflicted as Soji wasn't a she could, manipulate eyes. So could Haku, and even like that, killing them would mean that, and, someone who's a missing nin. Haku technically wasn't a registered ninja, thus wasn't necessarily a registered nin. Thus, yeah. And somewhat he'd kind of think and, put him in the hard kind of spot as they'd kind of, think that though Naruto would, somewhat, or at least something she did manage to finally figure out was how to kind of mount the ice. While she could always, form it, she kind of struggled to actually figure out how to, meditate. So she, someone figured out kind of how to do about a few days to a month ago. Not a month ago, doing some of the training with Kakashi. She'd figured out how to finally mount her ice. The ice had created. And so she'd somewhat mount it around some of his hand, and seeing that his life was now seemingly oddly not in immediate threat. Whilst he'd still be on kind of high guard, and of course, Zabuza, having the dogs and that on him, and Haku kind of slightly somewhat stand there, kind of awkwardly, yeah. Though it'd all be somewhat broken when they would somewhat hear, somewhat go, well, what do we have somewhat here? Zabuza would go, Gato, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Well, yeah, you'd go, you'd do something to clean up. I never planned on paying you anyway. You'd somewhat mention as well, that made stuff a lot easier. You just had to kill him and not have to, and yeah. You'd somewhat turn around and you'd go and somewhat has, he'd, somewhat to at least, of course, the mist. Of course, Sasuke would kind of be laying there. Sakura, of course, already, had run over those, which of course, Kakashi now would see that, and Haku would, that would kind of somewhat look somewhat down. Haku would simply say that he's not dead. They would somewhat look at him, and Zabuza would just say, so never really been able to kill, have you? To which Kakashi, he's just, and you just put him in a death-like state, which he'd sort of just nod, and he would decide to, somewhat, there was no, somewhat like Sakura, that he was just kind of in a somewhat death-like state, and that pulling him out would probably, wake Sasuke up, though just to be careful, to which him actually would and should immediately start, pulling the Senbon out, slowly and carefully. And, and when she'd pull one of them out, Sasuke's, pulse would similarly return, and after pulling out a few more, Sasuke would kind of come to. Anyway, they want to see someone doing that. Someone they'd kind of see the somewhat army and that, and yeah. Though Zabuza would look to Kakashi and would somewhat perceive to kind of, though, for, or at least though, as, Gato would be, saying stuff and that, and as Haku was, going to go seemingly, attack them, it perceived to knock Haku out. As he'd hand Haku to Kakashi, because the dogs now, somewhat disappeared. He'd tell Kakashi to somewhat look after somewhat Haku, and he'd somewhat tell him that Haku's not a kind of registered ninja, that she kind of, should be, it should be somewhat easier for him to, kind of be, accepting that he'd somewhat want, he'd kind of somewhat want him to go with somewhat, with, go by, he's kind of, cares about you and that, and, well, stating, what, Naruto said to, Zabuza, at kind of accept and difference that Haku was alive. And, Zabuza would simply, would go, I know that, that's why I'm giving him to such use. And, and it'd be better somewhat off in a village where he'd be, protected and that. Similarly. And, and so someone, what are you going to do? Me? I'm probably going to die here. And lo and behold, he'd end up killing Zabuza. Zabuza? He'd end up killing Gato. And of course, someone died, to which Kakashi, would pick her up and kind of somewhat lay him down, kind of next to the sleeping Haku. Knocked out Haku, and he'd somewhat kind of, they would somewhat, hear somewhat his, somewhat kind of, last words as it seemingly started to somewhat, snow. He'd look over to Naruto, would shake her head. That she wasn't, producing the snow. Yeah, she wasn't, and Though from there, of course, they would go, come on, it's just the two of them, we can do this. the army of like 100 to 100 to 500 thugs would, or at least one would say to the 100 to 500 thugs, other thugs, to rally and to proceed to make a few shadow clones. Kakashi would make we would do the clone jutsu, and no. Prior to that, of course, an arrow would hit the ground, to which it would be the civilians, and that all rounded back, all rounded around not tsunami, tsunami's child. I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, of course, after that, Naruto would do the Shadow Clone Jutsu, Kakashi would do the Clone Jutsu, and they'd all proceed to run for their lives. After that, somewhat, you'd bury, of course, some, Zamazan, like you would with the kind of somewhat sword in the ground, or at least, slightly kind of, you'd make a somewhat cross as you'd silhouette a sword, just in case, somewhat, Haku, or at least, may, somewhat, blunt it, and if not, you'd just stab it into the ground and use that instead, and so, from there, he'd, once Haku, would wake up, she'd ask where Zabuza-sama was, which they'd reveal to him that he was dead. And he'd somewhat almost immediately ask to, kind of be killed as, the person, he failed to, save the one person that, that's kind of saved him, and after a bit of, talking, and mainly after talking somewhat to him, it, should convince him to, instead, to somewhat live for, or, somewhat Zabsar to, that, just somewhat killing, to dying now would just ruin the, chance that, he now has of, somewhat living a new life, to, live a better life, to, to kind of, get stronger in his memory, to not waste, the chance, Zabsar gave him to live a better life. And, and to which Haku would somewhat, or at least end up Kakashi would state that he had Zabzar's sword, and that if he would like it, and that if not, he would just, use that as Zabzar's tombstone. To which, I could kind of sort of think about it, as he couldn't really sort of, you couldn't really use it. And, and it was kind of, Kakashi simply didn't want it, and so after a bit, he'd just say to use that, that if he didn't want it, to just use it as the tombstone, to which Kakashi would, go and do that, stab it, sort of build it and stab it into the ground. And, from there, they would, so after that, of course, 3 weeks later, once the bridge was built, the bridge would then, of course, they then return to Konoha, bridge would still be called the Great Naruto Bridge for the, for the, the person that brung, hope and that back to the, back to the land of waves. And, and so from there, of course, someone they would arrive, back into the village, and, of course, Haku, at least Hiruzen would allow Haku to become a shinobi of Konoha, though he would have to be, watched by Kakashi, and that he wouldn't be, promoted to kind of tune, somewhat, kind of tuning just yet, and that he'd be some, gaining, and that, those which Haku would be kind of fine with, and and this is where I'm going to end this part here, guys. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this part, and note that this is only 2 hours long, as say, kind of, somewhat, just saying, kind of, sorry for, not uploading for kind of, for, Wednesday, Friday, and Monday. And, also somewhat, as I said, is somewhat part well, yeah, I'll probably be doing a part 2 to this anyway, but if you guys do want a part 2, do still tell me in the comments down below. And so yeah, Friday, there'd be a link in the description down below. Friday, part 2, for the community tab or on the channel, where you'll be able to vote for 3 different what ifs. This part, for this, which continue this for part 3, 4, and 5, and then a somewhat new, and then 3 new what ifs, which will go, which would be, part 1, 2, and 3. So the poll will be there, on, Friday, Friday, about an hour after the what if, is released on the channel, so 1 PM UK time. So the poll should appear, and you can then vote for what ifs, what ifs you want to do, want me to do or continue onwards. And yeah, with that, guys and girls, hope you guys again. Nah, my voice. Hope you guys have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are and whenever you watch this. And hey, good. Bye.